I don't give a damn what they say about me as long as I'm succeeding in the mission. We're succeeding in the mission because the men and women of the FBI have never been empowered to do more work and to hit the streets harder than by President Trump's authorities and resources he's given us. And so all I care about is that we are capturing more child predators than ever before, taking more drugs off the streets than ever before, that we are capturing murderers at a significantly historic rate, and we're delivering this country the lowest murder rate in recorded history. That are facts.
I mean, I'll respond. Kash Patel, as I said when I introduced him, public defender, former prosecutor, top staffer on the House Intelligence Committee, Deputy Director of National Intelligence with the National Security Council, Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense, and FBI Director. I think that's a pretty good resume for the guy who's now running the top law enforcement agency in our country. And we've seen all the stats that he's given to the committee on how much better they're doing at getting the bad guys than the previous guy was doing. With that, I recognize the gentleman from South Carolina.
Okay. So imagine this. You're sitting in a federal courtroom. The FBI director is on the stand, and the judge, a federal judge, looks him dead in the eye and calls him an evil liar. Not just a liar, an evil liar who has disgraced this office in this country. And what does the FBI director do? Does he sit there and take it? Does he apologize? No, he rips off his microphone, storms out of the courtroom, and the whole proceeding has to stop. Like, you can't make this up. This actually happened. We're talking about Kash Patel here, Trump's hand-picked FBI director, the guy who was supposed to clean up the agency, the guy who promised to restore trust and integrity. Yeah, that guy just had a complete meltdown in federal court. And here's the thing, this wasn't some random hearing about nothing. This was about him admitting on the record that he fired senior FBI agents illegally. Like, he knew it was unlawful. He said it was probably illegal, and he did it anyway. Come on. Are you kidding me right now? But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us, be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
Hey, let me take a victory lap, because honestly, if it wasn't for parents deciding that they were going to turn in their child, it seems like y'all wouldn't have got there, even though he literally confessed online. So I'm confused about what it is that the FBI is doing, except for trying to put on a show for the apprentice, or whatever you want to call him. The day after all of this took place, there was domestic terrorism that was taking place at HBCUs. They were targeted. Yet I didn't hear anything from the FBI about what was going on. And again, black people kept saying, how did we end up in this? Because the numbers are so very clear that white supremacy is a problem. And honestly, I've not heard anything out of you today that makes me believe that you're going to do anything about the white supremacy problem. The one that is leading to children being killed, children being shot, as well as members of their community as they're worshiping in their churches.
So let me get this straight. The director of the FBI, the top law enforcement official in the country, admits to breaking the law and then throws a tantrum when a judge calls him out on it. This is where we are, folks. This is what's happening in America right now, and it gets worse. Because these weren't just any agency fired. These were the people who investigated Trump, the ones who looked into January 6th, the ones who handled the classified documents case. Every single person who dared to do their job and follow the evidence, they're gone. Patel fired them all. And when he was asked why, when he had to explain himself under oath, you know what he said? He said the FBI tried to put the president in jail, and Trump hasn't forgotten it. That's the quote. That's what he actually said in court documents. So this isn't about cleaning up corruption. This isn't about making the FBI better. This is straight up revenge. This is political retaliation. And the guy doing it just admitted it was illegal, but did it anyway because Trump wanted him to. Like, how is this real life? And now there's a perjury investigation. Because apparently Patel didn't just admit to illegal firings. He might have lied under oath too. The DOJ's Office of Professional Responsibility is looking into whether he committed perjury. The FBI director, under investigation for lying to Congress and the courts. You can't write better drama than this. Hollywood wouldn't even try because it's too ridiculous. But here's what really gets me. This courtroom explosion happened just a few weeks ago. October 24th. The judge called him an evil liar. Patel stormed out. The whole thing fell apart. And since then, crickets. The mainstream media barely covered it. Most people don't even know this happened. Meanwhile, the FBI is in chaos. Agents are terrified. Morale is at an all-time low. Nobody knows if they're going to be the next one fired for doing their job. And Patel is still there, still in charge, still running the agency into the ground. This is wild. This is absolutely wild. And you know what the best part is? Trump is sitting back watching all of this, probably loving every second of it, because this is exactly what he wanted. He wanted someone who would be loyal to him above everything else, someone who would ignore the law if necessary, someone who would use the FBI as a weapon against his enemies, and that's exactly what he got with Kash Patel. So yeah, we need to talk about this. We need to break down what actually happened in that courtroom. We need to look at the lawsuits, the court documents, the timeline of who got fired and why. Because this story is bigger than just one guy having a meltdown. This is about the weaponization of law enforcement. This is about political revenge. This is about what happens when loyalty to one man becomes more important than following the law. And if we don't pay attention, if we let this slide, it's only going to get worse. So stick with me here, because we're going deep on this one. And trust me, it's even more insane than you think. Because what happened in that courtroom wasn't just some random outburst. It was the culmination of months of pressure, months of lies, months of Patel trying to cover up what he's been doing. And when he finally got cornered, when he couldn't spin his way out of it anymore, he just lost it. And the implications of this are massive. We're talking about the integrity of the entire justice system. We're talking about whether anyone in power faces consequences anymore. We're talking about the future of law enforcement in this country. So buckle up, because this story has everything. Courtroom drama, political corruption, a massive cover-up, and a guy who literally can't handle being called out for his own actions. Let's dive in. Alright, so let's rewind a bit and figure out how we even got here. Because Kash Patel didn't just wake up one day and decide to have a public meltdown in federal court. This has been building for months. Actually, it's been building for years. First, who is Kash Patel? Like, for real. This guy came out of nowhere. He was a staffer, a lawyer. He worked for Devin Nunes back when Nunes was trying to discredit the Russia investigation. And Patel was right there with him, pushing conspiracy theories, attacking the FBI, claiming the whole thing was a witch hunt. Trump loved him, absolutely loved him, because Patel was loyal. He would say whatever Trump wanted him to say. He would do whatever Trump needed him to do. And when Trump got back into office, one of his first moves was making Patel the FBI director. And people warned us. Remember, legal experts, former FBI officials, even some Republicans said this was a terrible idea. They said Patel was too political, too inexperienced, too loyal to Trump instead of the Constitution. But Trump didn't care. He wanted someone who would clean house. And that's exactly what Patel did. Starting in February, right after he took over, Patel began firing people. Senior agents, people who had been with the Bureau for decades, people with spotless records, and the pattern was obvious. Every single person he fired had one thing in common. They were connected to investigations into Trump. The agents who worked on January 6th, gone. The people who handled the classified documents case, gone. Anyone who testified to Congress about Trump, gone. It was like a purge. And at first, Patel tried to play it cool. He said these were performance-based decisions. He said he was making the FBI more efficient. He said it had nothing to do with politics. Yeah, right. Can you believe this? Because the fired agents weren't buying it. And in September, they hit back. Multiple former senior FBI officials filed lawsuits against Patel and the Trump administration. And these weren't small claims. These were major federal lawsuits alleging wrongful termination, political retaliation, and violation of civil service protections. And the court documents, oh man, the court documents are insane, because that's where Patel's own words came back to haunt him. According to the lawsuits, Patel admitted in internal meetings that firing these agents was likely illegal. Like, he said those words. He acknowledged it was probably unlawful. But then he said, and I'm quoting here, the FBI tried to put the president in jail, and he hasn't forgotten it. So there it is, right there. The FBI director admitting that he broke the law to carry out Trump's revenge, not to improve the agency, not to fight crime, but because Trump wanted payback. Come on, this is wild. And this is where it gets really interesting, because once those lawsuits were filed, Patel had to respond. He couldn't just ignore them. He had to show up in court. He had to testify, and that's when everything fell apart. The hearing started in late September. Patel took the stand, and at first he was confident, cocky even. He tried to spin the firings as necessary reforms. He said the agents weren't performing. He said he was just doing his job. But the lawyers representing the fired agents, they came prepared. They had the receipts, they had emails, they had meeting notes, they had testimony from other FBI officials who were in the room. when Patel said these firings were about Trump. And slowly, piece by piece, they tore apart his story. They showed that the agents he fired had excellent performance reviews. They showed that none of them had been given proper warnings. They showed that the whole process violated federal employment law. And then they hit him with his own words, the quote about Trump not forgetting, the admission that the firings were likely illegal. And Patel, he tried to walk it back. He said he was misunderstood. He said it was taken out of context. But the damage was done. And that's when Judge Harper, the federal judge overseeing the case, started asking tougher questions. She wanted to know why Patel fired these specific agents. She wanted to know if Trump personally ordered it. She wanted to know if Patel understood he was violating the law. And Patel got defensive, really defensive. He started arguing with the judge. He said she was biased. He said the whole proceeding was political. And Judge Harper, she was not having it. This went on for weeks. Multiple hearings, more testimony, more evidence, and tensions kept rising until October 24th, when it all exploded. Patel was back on the stand. The lawyers were pressing him on inconsistencies in his testimony, and Judge Harper interrupted. She said she had reviewed all the evidence. She said she had listened to all the testimony, and then she said it. She called him an evil liar who has disgraced this office and this country. The courtroom went silent, like you could hear a pin drop, and Patel, he just snapped. He ripped off his microphone. He stood up. He walked out. And the hearing had to be adjourned because the defendant literally left the building. Are you kidding me? The FBI director stormed out of federal court like a child throwing a tantrum. And here's the thing. This wasn't some brief outburst. He didn't come back 5 minutes later to apologize. He left. The hearing was over, and his lawyers had to scramble to explain what just happened. They put out a statement saying Judge Harper was biased. They said Patel was being persecuted. They said the whole case was a political hit job. Classic Trump playbook stuff. But legal experts are looking at this and saying Patel might have just made everything worse. Because now there are questions about whether he's fit to lead the FBI. There are calls for him to be held in contempt of court. And the perjury investigation is picking up steam. Yeah, about that perjury thing. Because it turns out Patel might have lied under oath multiple times. When he testified to Congress back in September, he said the firings were performance-based. He said politics had nothing to do with it. He said he never talked to Trump about specific agents. But the court documents tell a different story. They show emails between Patel and the White House. They show that Trump absolutely knew which agents were being fired and why. They show that Patel coordinated with Trump's legal team throughout the whole process. So if Patel lied to Congress, that's perjury. That's a crime. And the DOJ's Office of Professional Responsibility is now investigating whether he should be charged. The FBI director under investigation for perjury. Let that sink in. And meanwhile, the FBI itself is falling apart. Agents are leaving in record numbers. Morale is terrible. There are reports of internal chaos. People are afraid to do their jobs because they don't know if investigating the wrong person will get them fired. This is what happens when you put loyalty above competence. This is what happens when you treat law enforcement like a personal weapon. This is what happens when you let one man's grudges destroy an entire institution. And the scariest part? Trump doesn't care. He probably thinks this is great. He's getting exactly what he wanted. An FBI that's too scared and too broken to ever investigate him again. Now let me tell you about some of the specific people who got fired. Because these aren't faceless bureaucrats. These are real people with real careers who got destroyed for doing their jobs. One senior agent had 25 years with the Bureau. He worked counterterrorism. He worked organized crime. He was decorated multiple times. And he was part of the team that investigated January 6th. He helped identify people who attacked the Capitol. He built cases. He did everything right. And Patel fired him in March. No warning, no explanation, just a letter saying his services were no longer needed. Another agent was a woman who worked on the classified documents case. She was the one who helped execute the search warrant at Mar-a-Lago. She followed every protocol. She did everything by the book. She even pushed back against agents who wanted to be more aggressive because she wanted to make sure everything was legal. Fired in April. Same deal. No warning, no reason given, just gone. These stories are everywhere. Dozens of agents, all with similar backgrounds, all with connections to Trump investigations, and all fired within months of Patel taking over. It's not subtle. It's not even trying to be subtle. This is a purge, plain and simple. And what's crazy is that Patel isn't even denying it anymore. He's basically admitting it. He's just trying to justify it by saying the agents were corrupt or biased or whatever. But the evidence shows that's not true. These were good agents doing good work. They just investigated the wrong person. Okay, so let's break down what this actually means. Because yeah, the courtroom drama is wild. The quotes are insane. But what does this really mean for the country? Why should you care? Let me give you 4 big reasons. First, this is about the rule of law, like the most basic principle of democracy. The idea that nobody is above the law, not the president, not the FBI director, nobody. And what Patel did, what he admitted to doing, was breaking the law, because Trump told him to. He knew it was illegal. He said it was probably unlawful, but he did it anyway, because his loyalty to Trump was more important than his oath to the Constitution. Think about that for a second. The director of the FBI, the agency responsible for investigating federal crimes, openly admitting that he committed federal crimes. And his defense is basically, well, Trump wanted me to. That's not how this is supposed to work. That's not how any of this is supposed to work. In a functioning democracy, when the FBI director breaks the law, there are consequences. He gets fired, he gets charged, he goes to jail, but here, nothing. He's still in charge. He's still running the FBI, and the only consequence so far is that he got called out by a judge and threw a fit about it. Come on, are you kidding me? Second, this is about what happens to the people who try to do the right thing. Because the agents Patel fired, they were just doing their jobs. They were following the evidence. They were enforcing the law, and they got punished for it. One of the fired agents worked on the January 6th investigation. He spent months interviewing witnesses, reviewing evidence, building cases against people who attacked the Capitol. And his reward? He got fired because Trump didn't like what he found. Another agent was involved in the classified documents case. You know, the one where Trump took boxes of national security secrets to Mar-a-Lago and refused to give them back. That agent followed proper procedure. He got a warrant. He did everything by the book, and he got fired too. These are people with families, people with mortgages, people who dedicated their careers to public service, and they got thrown out like trash because they investigated the wrong person. What message does that send? It tells every FBI agent, every federal prosecutor, every law enforcement official in the country, if you investigate someone Trump likes, your career is over. Maybe your freedom is over too. That's chilling. That's actually terrifying, because once law enforcement becomes politicized like this, once it becomes about loyalty instead of justice, you don't have a democracy anymore. You have something else. Third, this is about Trump's second term and where we're headed, because Patel isn't acting alone here. He's not some rogue director doing whatever he wants. He's following orders. He's doing exactly what Trump put him there to do. And if Trump can weaponize the FBI like this, if he can fire anyone who investigates him, if he can install loyalists who will break the law on his behalf, what else can he do? Think about all the other agencies, the Justice Department, the IRS, the SEC, intelligence agencies, regulatory agencies. What happens when Trump fills all of those positions with people like Kash Patel, people who will do whatever he says regardless of the law? This is the blueprint. Fire anyone who opposes you. Install loyalists who will follow orders. Use the power of the federal government to punish enemies and protect friends. And if anyone complains, call it a witch hunt and move on. We've seen this before in other countries, in other times, and it never ends well. And fourth, this is about institutional collapse. The FBI has been around for over 100 years. It's investigated organized crime, terrorism, corruption, espionage. It's not a perfect agency. No agency is, but it's been a crucial part of law enforcement in this country. And now it's being destroyed from the inside. The best agents are leaving. The ones who stay are terrified. Investigations are being dropped or sabotaged. And the agency's reputation is in tatters. You think criminals aren't noticing this? You think foreign intelligence services aren't taking advantage? When the FBI is in chaos, when it's focused on internal purges instead of actual threats, everyone suffers. So yeah, the Kash Patel courtroom meltdown is entertaining in a dark way. It's got drama. It's got quotes. It's got a literal tantrum from the FBI director. But underneath all that, it's actually really serious, because this is about whether laws matter anymore. This is about whether institutions can survive when they're run by people who only care about political loyalty. This is about whether we still have a system where powerful people face consequences. And right now, the answer isn't looking great. Now what happens next? Well, the lawsuits are still going. The fired agents are fighting to get their jobs back. They want back pay. They want damages. And they want Patel held accountable. The perjury investigation is ongoing. If the DOJ finds that Patel lied under oath, he could be charged. He could lose his job. He could go to trial. But that's a big if, because the DOJ answers to Trump. And Trump isn't going to let his FBI director get charged if he can help it. Congress is making noise about investigations. Some Democrats are calling for hearings. They want Patel to testify. They want documents. They want answers. But with Republicans in control, those investigations probably aren't going anywhere. And meanwhile, Patel is still firing people. The purge isn't over. There are reports that he has a list of dozens more agents he wants to get rid of. Anyone who worked on Trump cases, anyone who testified against Trump allies, anyone who might be a problem. The FBI is being gutted from the inside, and nobody is stopping it. There are also whispers about what else might come out, because if Patel lied about the firings, if he lied about coordinating with Trump, what else did he lie about? What else is he hiding? Some legal analysts are saying this could be bigger than we think, that the courtroom meltdown might just be the tip of the iceberg, that there could be more evidence, more witnesses, more crimes. And if that's true, if this thing keeps unraveling, Patel might not survive it, not politically, maybe not legally either. But here's the problem. Even if Patel goes down, even if he gets charged or fired or whatever, the damage is already done. The FBI has been compromised. Trust has been destroyed. And Trump will just find another loyalist to put in charge. This isn't about one guy. This is about a system that allows this to happen. This is about a political party that enables it. This is about a public that's too exhausted or too distracted to fight back. So here's the bottom line. Kash Patel admitted to breaking the law. He had a meltdown in federal court. He's under investigation for perjury. And he's still in charge of the FBI. That should tell you everything you need about where we are right now. This isn't normal. This isn't okay. And if we just accept this as the new reality, it's only going to get worse. The fired agents are fighting back. Some journalists are covering it. Some activists are organizing. But it's not enough. Not yet. Because most people still don't know this is happening. So pay attention. Share this story. Talk about it. Make noise about it. Because the only way this changes is if enough people actually care. And right now, not enough people are paying attention. And that's exactly what Trump and Patel are counting on. They're counting on us being too tired, too overwhelmed, too divided to notice. They're counting on this story getting buried under 1,000 other scandals. Don't let that happen. All right, that's it for this one. But trust me, this story isn't over. Patel's legal problems are just getting started. And when the next shoe drops, and it will drop, we'll be here to break it down for you. Because this matters. This actually matters. And we can't let them get away with it. Stay angry, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.